Envase Technologies creates a suite of solutions that makes it easier to run your trucking business. For drivers and carriers, our solutions put control back in your hands with a TMS, capacity and storage marketplace, and rate management system. Optimize your operations with less administrative headaches and increase the value of your time spent on and off the clock. Envase Technologies, driving progress, delivering innovation. For more information, visit envasetechnologies.com. That's ENVASE Technologies.com.
All right. Happy Friday. Welcome to another episode of No Bullshipping with Hope White. This show is going to be so special. It's just the right way to top off a very heightened week. I'll say that. My guest is none other than Jamal Ford, CEO of Redbird Logistics out of Dallas, Texas. Just a little tidbit here. Jamal is actually a close friend of mine. He's a friend of the show. And so I'm really excited to have this conversation with Jamal about weathering the storm in freight brokering right now, given the current market. So let's bring Jamal up.
Good morning, Miss Hope. How are you?
Good morning, Jamal Ford. How are you doing?
It's good to be here with you. Thank you so much for asking. I really appreciate it. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm wonderful. So I'm going to try to be kind of professional or all the way professional. Well, we know we talk about this. So do you want me to call you Jay Ford or Jamal Ford? Which one is it?
Jay is fine. That's perfectly fine.
Okay, Jay Ford. So tell me about you, Jay Ford. What is it that you do? How long have you been in the business, and where are you guys located?
First of all, I have to start off by telling you how much of a pleasure and a privilege it is to be here with you. It's so real and unreal just being here. So thank you so much for your hospitality. Thank you for your great team as well. I really appreciate everything. It's like a dream come true.
Oh.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. But I started freight brokering and I started as an agent actually with a mom and pop brokerage in 2018.
Okay.
And so primarily what we were moving in was a lot of steel on flatbeds. We were doing some containers and that was pretty much our niche at the time. And so from that point, I just go ahead and started my own freight brokerage. And now I move mostly containers and empty trailers, believe it or not. There's nothing even in the trailer. They're totally empty.
So you're in a niche area, if you will, with doing loadouts for dry vans and then empty shipping containers.
Absolutely. Yeah, with the loadouts, we pretty much pick them right up from the manufacturer. The big thing is the manufacturer is always looking for ways to save money on moving the trailers.
Oh,
yeah. And so they rather move them empty and allow the carrier to use them for 5 to 7 days, while they move them so that they save a little money on the transportation costs. But that's exactly what we do. And the container homes, we actually, we're taking empty containers from the container yards and we're taking them to a prefab yard. And that way they take the containers and make them into homes, swimming pools, storage cabinets.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty fascinating.
Kind of like my office over there in Meta.
Exactly like that. Absolutely. 100%.
Okay, so how did you get into freight brokering? I know you said you started off at a mom and pop, but is this like something you always wanted to do? Is your background sales? Like, how did you get into freight brokering? Because that's kind of like a pull if you traditionally like a truck driver or dispatching service or coming out of corporate. How did you get into freight brokering? What made you want to do that?
That's really a phenomenal question. And the funny thing is I was a recruiter. And so I actually got my first client at a bar, believe it or not. I happened to be sitting next to this truck driver, and he had like 100 truck fleet, and he was always looking for drivers.
Oh, he was a big boy.
Yeah, he was a big boy.
Okay.
And so we ended up going, I'm meeting him at the bar, and then we ended up going there a couple of times. And then, I'm a recruiter, so we sitting there exchanging what we each do. And I was like, man, I can find a Republican at a Democratic National Convention. If they out there, and he took me up on it. He was like, well, do it. You know what I'm saying? And so that's how I got my first account. And I was recruiting drivers.
Yeah.
From talking to drivers so much, everybody was talking about how freight brokers do this and freight brokers take all the money, freight brokers make all the money.
Yeah.
And so I became interested in what is a freight broker. And that started my whole trajectory into freight brokerage and learning more about freight. But that's an excellent question.
Yeah. So since you've started in the business, like, can you give some tips to smaller brokerages that are getting started? Like, what was your expectation right? Of what a freight brokerage was to actually what you're doing now. Can you talk about that?
Wow, that's a great question. My biggest misconception from talking to all the drivers when we were recruiting is that I thought all the brokers were rich and the brokers were taking all the money off of the loads.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out sometimes it's not the broker's fault.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the shipper that's dictating the price of the
Right.
load and how much they want to move the load for.
Right.
So that was the biggest thing and biggest misconception. Other than that, it's a lot more cold calling than I thought, because
Yeah.
as a broker, you always have to be cold calling, networking, constantly going after new business.
Building those relationships. Yeah.
Yes, building
Yeah.
those relationships. 100%.
Yeah. So with you and your team, starting off fairly small, you don't have a lot of time often to leave the office. So are there any special resources or tools you're utilizing in your space, as a smaller brokerage to get those, opportunities and networking and building your book of business there?
That's a great question. The biggest pro tip for me in that arena was referrals.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, I've got more clients from my existing clients.
Come on, doing good business. Come on now.
Yeah. From just them referring me to their friends and then suggesting that I go talk to this person or that person.
Yeah.
And really, I've got my biggest clients from my previous client just because of people that she knew that happened to be in the same niche. So that really worked out. So it goes to what you're saying about networking and making a good impression.
Yeah. Yeah. So Sarah, who is Let's Talk Supply Chain, Sarah Barnes Humphrey, she is masterful at the utilization of LinkedIn. LinkedIn is one of the resources that we, instill in our mentees with Logistically Speaking Online, shameless plug, about the utilization of LinkedIn. If you can't, afford traveling or registering for conferences, you can't leave your business, definitely look into the utilization of LinkedIn. And so Sarah is masterful with teaching and utilizing that platform. So I definitely would suggest at that tag right there about the utilization of LinkedIn and other networking platforms to help you get your business out there.
That's a pro tip.
Yeah, it is. So the show topic is weathering the storm, right? And it's not any secret that trucking companies, freight brokerages, freight forwarders, or just if you're in logistics and supply chain as a general, even if you're a shipper, a customer, that you are having a really difficult time now in this market, right?
Right.
So COVID, everybody was up with trucking, right? Everything kind of shut down, and then boom, an explosion, right, of business. Mm-hmm. Did you see an uptick in business during COVID? And then after everything has kind of leveled back out, did you, get some lows there as well?
That's a great question. It was different for my different clients. One client pretty much shut down. They weren't doing anything. They were just kind of laying back and trying to figure out what was going to happen, because really the world changed on us, almost overnight.
Yes,
and so one client shut down and they weren't doing anything. They were, they were just going to wait. And then the other client was eager to move the loads. And so they realized they had to pay a little bit more. Yeah. And so they gave us an opportunity to move some loads. And so that kind of took a cyclical turn, because at first they were paying more, then the market corrected, and they didn't want to pay any additional fees. So then that squeezed our margin a little bit, because the carriers were used to one rate and the shipper was used to one rate. And so they were both kind of squeezing us in the middle. Yeah. And so it kind of was a cycle. But then the one client that stopped completely, they finally started back up and kept going. But it was definitely a challenge. Yeah. What I should have done more in that space was having more shippers on reserve.
Yes.
That's the thing, when they
not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Precisely.
Yeah. Because that's small. Yeah. I'm sorry. No. As smaller brokerages, when you get that good niche, or you get that good honey hole customer, you want to be really good to them. You want to be, committed to them and make sure that you meet all of their capacity, and you just don't want to mess up anything. So you tend to just focus on that one customer. So yeah, definitely that is a good pro tip there as well, making sure that you do not silo yourself with only one honey hole customer there, and just spread the wealth, or diversify your services, if you will. But Jamal, we got to tell some people over here here in the comments hello, because we got a hot chat box over here. We want to tell Charlene good morning this morning. She says, happy Fearless Friday, everyone. Rob is checking in. Hey, Rob in Tennessee. We have Ali that says, happy Friday, not happy birthday. Sue Ellen. Hi, Jay. Hi, Hope. This is so interesting. I love hearing your story and insight. And then Jamal, we already have a question in the chat for you. It says, how do you get your drivers and how do you keep them organized as there is a global shortage of truck drivers?
Yeah, that's a really great question. My whole philosophy that I learned over some time is that if you have the loads, you're going to find the carriers.
Yes.
And then that's the first part. Once you get the carriers, treat the carriers right.
Yes.
And our whole thing was like being the utmost respectful to the carriers.
Yes.
Trying to really be fair with them on the rates as well.
Yeah.
And any way we can help them, we definitely help them. One thing we do is we do quick pay, no fee.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I was going to ask you to expound on how you treat your carriers right, because a lot of small brokerages don't understand that. Some people just think, oh, well, if I just get them paid on time, then that's enough. Go a little further with that.
Absolutely. I'll tell you, with us, is from the first conversation, because I've dispatched as well. And so I've heard some of the big brokerages and how they answer the phone and how they feel like when they answer the phone that, that they're doing you a favor by even talking to you about the load.
What? You better come on, talk about that pride and ego.
Rude for no reason. They just wake up rude,
Yeah.
Don't even worry about the load. I'll figure something else out.
Yeah.
And so right from the beginning, just utmost respect and appreciation for the carriers, because to me, they're the part of the puzzle that keeps everything moving.
Yeah.
They're the ones to do the real work, in my opinion.
Yes.
And so that's A, just having that respect for them. And B is making sure we give them a fair rate.
Yeah.
And C is just whatever we can do to accommodate them and make it easier for them.
Yeah.
We definitely go out of our way to do that.
Yeah. Because as a freight broker, you actually don't own any assets. You're just leasing them or subcontracting them on behalf of your customer. But ultimately, it's those guys and their trucks who's going to do the bulk of the work for you. So you definitely want to make sure you have a very good relationship with your carriers.
Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm big on. When I was a freight broker, I was very big on communication and transparency. I find that, and no knock to any large brokerages, you do what you have to do. But for me, as a small brokerage, what kept us very consistent was transparency and effective communication. Just explaining any changes that may occur with your shipper, so that your driver knows how to flex to be able to service the customer on your behalf.
Oh, absolutely. And then we try to keep using those same carriers if we can.
Yes.
Letting them know what the expectation is and also
Yes.
what the workload is going to be.
Yes.
So that we try to tell them a week or 2 weeks out if we have the information, so that they can plan their workload as well, so that we can continue to work with them.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's very important to us.
Yes. All right. So we have some more people in the comments here. Now, I'm not going to pronounce your name because I don't want to mess it up, but they're checking in from Zambia, Africa. Says good morning. Lucas says, love this conversation. He also is plugging himself over in the chat with DOT compliance and a YouTube link. So check out Lucas Kibbe, who's doing a shameless plug over here. Okay. Sue with OnQ Freight says, yes, so true. She's trying to get her eggs out of one basket now. She says, when you find a good carrier, keep them by treating them right. And then definitely talking about being rude for no reason. We also have Heather Pittman checking in with us from Ohio. And then Laura says, customer service and mutual respect is disappearing. I find this doing you a favor attitude a lot lately. She's encountering that a lot lately. So let's do a little pivot here. So Jamal, you have a little bit something to share with us. So since you've been in the business now a couple of years, there's a few pro tips that you have found that have been attributed to your success as a smaller brokerage, right? And that you've remained consistent, right? Where did you put those items? What did you do?
That is such a beautiful lead in.
Come on.
Absolutely. So I actually wrote a book. It's called Learning the Basics of Moving Freight. And, you can just search for it on Amazon. And so basically, they say a lot of authors, they write the book that they wanted at the time. And so I really wrote this book because this is what I needed when I first started.
Yes.
When I first started, I didn't even know how to create a rate con. I didn't know anything about per diem. I didn't know tonu. I didn't know any of the phrases. I didn't know anything. how to negotiate anything. And so
Yeah.
I was really just starting from
Because
scratch.
Google wasn't your friend.
Huh?
Because Google was not your friend.
Google was not my friend at the time. And there was some training courses out there, but but they were expensive.
Yeah.
And so what I ended up doing was having to go half on the training with one of my friends who was nice enough to go half on it with me. And that's how I got the training. But I was like, you know, when I finally learn what's going on and how to work through the system, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to put it in there and I'm going to make it accessible and affordable so that anybody who's interested can pick it up. And it really gets their feet wet. It not only teaches them the basics, it tells them where to go to get more information.
Yeah.
And it also tells them some stories.
Yes.
Like I start the book out, you know, my typical day. This is how my typical day starts as a broker on a daily basis. So absolutely.
Yeah, tidbits like that is very important for those that are looking to get started in the business. I'm very proud of you for putting that down on paper. I know that took a lot for you to do, and I'm very proud of you for that. But I definitely think you will add value and help someone out who's coming behind you and looking to get into freight brokerage. Because yes, there are a lot of courses out there. There are a lot of different information floating around on YouTube and a lot of different platforms that assist, but just those step-by-step day-to-day operational instructions is very needed when you're starting your freight brokerage.
Absolutely. And about being proud, just to pivot on that just for just a hot minute.
Come on.
I remember when I first came across your episode on Truck and Hustle.
Oh,
yeah. You were explaining how you got started and then the process you took. That session, that episode was so impactful.
Yes.
It was so much good information that I had to pull over and just try to digest it because you blew my mind. So I just wanted to give you some kudos and flowers as well because you do an exceptional job. And
thank you.
I think your training is exceptional.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you there. Again, I took someone else's course there to learn freight brokerage. And once I got, you know, the instruction and training that I needed, it definitely took my business to the next level. So I'll never take away from, you know, learning, the gift of learning. We got to tell some more people hello. We have Maria checking in from Venezuela. We have Alan checking in from Dallas, Texas. Maybe that's someone you know. Nope. Okay. Sue from OnQ Freight says, yes, I love the book. It's such a well-versed guide. Even if you have been in the game for a while, it definitely will add some value there to you. In Africa, he says, we have a lot of drivers, but due to COVID, business has not picked up much. Fleet management is very difficult. How do you, I'm not for sure how he's wording this, but how do you go out there bearing in mind the driver issues you have mentioned? So he says, how are you staying in basically consistent, knowing that we're having challenges in the driver world? Let me answer that for you, Jamal. So for us in the US, yes, drivers are, you know, the industry standard, driver shortage. No, it's all about relationship and commitment and consistency. At HC Dredge and Container Services, all of our drivers have been with us, or most of them, 70% of our drivers have been with us for well over the 3 years that we have been in business. And it's because we are consistent with our drivers. We communicate with our drivers, very transparent. We have driver meetings, we have driver trainings, and today we're actually having Family Fun Day for our drivers. So just keeping in mind, it's all about you as a company, letting your drivers get into the vision of who you are, that their success is your success, not the other way around. And so I think that's the key to success in making sure that you have consistent drivers. What do you think, Jamal?
Who can follow up the GOAT? You know, when you answer a question, the question has been answered. That's perfectly penned. All I can do is say amen.
Amen. Come on. So I want to go down a rabbit hole here a little bit. And this is the part of freight brokerage or just business and logistics that people don't discuss. So when you took a hit during the leveling out, if you will, how did it affect your coinage or your money?
Decimation. In one word, it was impactful. It was impactful. It really was, and it was really unbelievable because it went from having some good margins and some good profit and moving loads to still moving the loads, but the money wasn't there. And so that was very disheartening, and not a lot I could do about it because the shipper was fixed and the carriers were fixed. So I was kind of stuck in the middle. So no,
you was at like a 2%.
Sometimes I was giving away loads. I'm like,
Just
look,
take it.
I would pay an extra $5. Let me put $5 or $10 on top of what you're paying just to make it reasonable. Can I put you something in the mail? What can I do for you? Starbucks? You want me to drive the truck? I'll drive the truck. You know, so no, it's definitely impactful.
Let me put 10 on straight box 3s. Just please make this work because I need this.
Well, let me go send you $5 on your cash app. The cutoff is $25. I ain't gonna send you that much, but I will send you a little something, and I'm gonna pray for you too. Yeah,
sure, absolutely. I mean, that candid moment right there is so needed in this business, because a lot of people don't understand that, like you said earlier in the show, at some point you're just breaking even. At some point it's truly all about maintaining the relationship with the client. And again, this glitz and glamour of freight brokerage making all of this money, it's all about keeping the relationship with the client so that you can continue to do more business.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And I would say another thing to just add to that about when you hit those hard times. The key, I think probably the biggest thing I know that I overlooked, mentorship and coaches. You got to have a mentor and a coach so that when you hit that rough patch, you can talk to somebody. And I really think
been through what you're dealing with.
That's been there, that can zoom out far enough and tell you, okay, well, this is just a phase, or try this or that. You know, give you some other options and some other ideas. Now that's critical. Because one thing anybody takes away from this call is takes Hope's training, hit Hope up, or get a solid mentor, because that's going to change your life. Absolutely.
Good. Thank you so much there. We have a question for you, Jamal. So I'm going to say Tommy out of the UK says, how do you map and network in terms of making your deliveries on time? So I'm going to reword that. I'm thinking he is saying, how do you maintain your relationship with your clients and making sure that your drivers are making the lanes and deliveries on time once they're awarded to you? That's how I'm gonna reword that.
I think it goes back to what you said earlier. The key is communication. Because I have one shipper where they have a delivery window. So I try to make sure that I let them know how many carriers are going to be dropping off within that window, who's going to be late. And if somebody's having an issue, I try to let them know immediately. Like if a truck breaks down, or if they might get pulled over, or it might be an hours issue, then I try to let that shipper know immediately so that they can kind of make room for it on their end. Absolutely.
For one of us at HD Dredge, one of our clients, we have what's called a progress report. And so we have to adhere, and some of your clients are different. Their KPIs are different, right? Key performance indicators are different. But for this particular client, we have to manage a progress report with them on a daily, sometimes hourly basis. And we have to adhere to whatever delivery requirements they have, especially when they have hot boxes, right? So it's very important for us to communicate to our drivers, this is what our needs are before they actually get the loads. And if they say, hey, I know I can't make it in that time, then we have to repower or redispatch to another driver that can commit to the timeline that the customer is needing. So it's all about communication there, Tommy.
Now, what's a hot box?
Hot box is an expedited freight that the client absolutely has to get inside of the facility because maybe there's a sale, maybe there's an order in waiting for that piece of product that it needs to deliver. And so in our, it's considered hot, expedited, or tier A. It's an urgent piece of freight that needs to get to the facility immediately before the client to fulfill orders. Yeah.
I see. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So Siva has checked in with us. She says, hey, Jamal and Hope. Jamal, you're sharing very valuable information for carrier treatment, customer service, and starting a freight brokerage. Hats off to you. And she says, yes. Charlene says, love y'all's transparency. Much needed. And then we have one more question for Tommy, and then we want to wrap up here. It says, how have you been able to contribute to achieving sustainability goals? Jamal.
Sustainability goals. That's a really good question. My key is, first of all, setting the goal and making sure it's a SMART goal. And so that's just an acronym for specific, measurable, accurate, realistic, and timely.
Come on, educated man. Come on, give it to him again.
I have to give him some on this podcast with a genius. I'm just trying to hold on and hang in there. But no, I just think you have to make the goal realistic and then check in with your shipper or your carrier to make sure that those goals align with what they're trying to do as well. That's the key. That's the communication piece. And once you have those two figured out, then it's just a matter of negotiating through what needs to happen so that everybody is level set and content with the agreement.
And what's the acronym again?
SMART. SMART.
And it stands for?
Specific, measurable, accurate, realistic, and timely.
Come on, small freight brokerage. I know some big brokerages don't know that.
I know.
That was a little shade there. So Jamal, where can we find you?
Well, actually, you can find me on Instagram. I'm Jaymal the Broker, JaymalThe Broker. You can find the book on Amazon. And if you pick up the book, it's my email address. My contact information is in there. I would love to hear from you if you check out the book and hear what your thoughts are. And I would love to hear from you guys.
And what's the name of the book again?
Learning the Basics of Moving Freight.
By Jamal Ford.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Well, Jamal, it was such a pleasure to have this conversation with you. This is probably one of my most favorite conversations here.
That's saying a lot because you've had some great ones. So
yes, I
really
have.
Appreciate that. Coming from the GOAT herself.
Oh my God. And I'm so looking forward to your success in future endeavors.
Yes, ma'am. Likewise. Thank you so much again. I really appreciate you.
Awesome. All right. So that was Jamal Ford of Redbird Logistics out of Dallas, Texas. We're so grateful to have him on the show. I hope that you took some valuable insight there from him. It's very important for us smaller businesses to speak to one another and help one another out. And so Jamal definitely dropped some valuable information here that I hope that you can impart in your day-to-day operations there as a freight broker. All right. So happy Friday. I hope that you enjoy your weekend and tune in next 4th Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for another episode of No Bullshipping with Hope White. Have a great day.